Every 5 years, more Indians line up to vote than the entire population of Europe. Nothing else on earth moves this many people at once. But what if I told you the institution in charge of running that election has been built to favor the ruling party? Have you ever taken a step back and looked at the bigger picture? What happens before you can walk into a polling booth and cast your vote? Who organizes millions of polling stations across the country? And who counts every single vote once the election is over? Now, all of this is managed by a single institution, the Election Commission of India. I'm not here to explain how elections are held in our country or the logistics behind them. I'm going to show you how the institution responsible for running them has slowly evolved in ways that favor the ruling party.
The parties have formally written to the Chief Justice of India over the special intensive revision accusing the Election Commission of partisanship, bias and even manipulating elections and calling for a return to paper ballots.
The Election Commission's independence has changed dramatically over the years. So stick around, because there are a lot of surprises in this one. In this video, we are going to talk about how the Election Commission is formed, the 45-day CCTV rule, the retirement gifts waiting for commissioners after they step down, and finally, we also see how India compares to the rest of the world. Then you can decide whether our elections are as free and fair as we keep being told they are. Let's start by understanding how the Chief Election Commissioner is appointed. If you're wondering who the CEC is, they are the person who leads the organization responsible for ensuring elections are conducted freely and fairly. Let's use an analogy here to help you better understand how the CEC is appointed. Think about the recent T20 World Cup final match, India versus New Zealand.
This time he connects, just marginally shorter.
Just for the sake of it, imagine the umpire was not chosen by the ICC, who should be a neutral body, but instead is chosen by a panel of 3 people: the Indian captain, a player that the Indian captain handpicks, and the New Zealand team's captain. In this kind of setup, everyone gets 1 vote each. But obviously, the New Zealand captain gets outvoted 2-1 always. Do you think we'll get to watch a fair match? Well, this is kinda how the CEC gets picked right now. For about 73 years, there was barely any system. The ruling party picked the Chief Election Commissioner and the President happily signed off on the Prime Minister's advice. And that was it. No panel was formed, there was no voice from the opposition side, and the judicial system was barely informed. Then in March 2023, the Supreme Court finally stepped in. In a case called Anup Barnwal versus Union of India, a 5-judge bench said the government cannot do this and built a 3-member panel. This was done to pick the head of the Election Commission. It consisted of the Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition party, and the Chief Justice of India. Now, this sounds very balanced, right? But unfortunately, that didn't last for long. In March 2023, when the court passed the verdict on the case, it also added one small line to its order. This arrangement holds only until the parliament passes a law. And the BJP government did pass a law in 2023. The new law surely kept the 3 seats, but changed who was going to sit in one of them. They replaced the Chief Justice of India with a cabinet minister who would be chosen by the Prime Minister. To put this in simple words, the panel is now the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister's own minister, and the leader of the opposition. 2 ruling party seats and 1 opposition seat. 2:1. Sounds familiar? Interestingly, PRS, Policy Research Studies. This is one of the most cited policy research groups in the country. They describe the situation as the committee now has a majority of members from the government of the day, which may undermine the independence of the commission. In March 2024, we watched this setup run for the very first time. There was a need to fill 2 vacancies in the Election Commission of India. Now, here's how that process went. First, a search committee run by the Law Minister filtered through more than 200 names and cut it down to a shortlist of 6. Then, the 3-member panel consisting of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah, and Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chowdhury, who was then the leader of the opposition, sat down to pick the final two. And Mr. Chowdhury said he was handed those names barely 10 minutes before the meeting began. Two of them, Sukhbir Singh Sandhu and Gyanesh Kumar, who later went on to become the Chief Election Commissioner, were finalized as the ruling party wanted. So the umpire of the world's largest democracy is now picked in a room where the ruling party inevitably has the deciding vote. In December 2024, the government silently amended Rule 93 of the Conduct of Election Rules 1961. And what that did sounds very simple. It pulled CCTV footage of the polling booths and counting rooms out of the list of things we are allowed to see. So now, if you want that footage, you can't just ask for it anymore. Before this amendment, everything about an election was open to you. And the timing is very interesting. Just days before that change, a High Court had ordered the Election Commission to hand over CCTV footage from the Haryana election to someone who had asked for it. And roughly 11 days after that order, the rule changed. Then in May 2025, the Commission went one step ahead and ordered every state to destroy the polling booth CCTV footage 45 days after results are declared, unless someone files a petition in court inside that window. And the obvious question that comes across my mind is, why destroy it? Why not just keep the tape? Well, the Election Commission has a specific reason for it. In August 2025, when the opposition was demanding to see the polling booth footage, the Chief Election Commissioner, Gyanesh Kumar, stood at a press conference and put it like this.
क्या अपनी माताओं, बहुओं, बेटियों सहित किसी भी मतदाता की सीसीटीवी वीडियो चुनाव आयोग को साझा करनी चाहिए क्या?
Should the Election Commission share the CCTV video of anyone's mother, sister, daughter, or daughter-in-law? And that is basically their whole case. It's about privacy as they justify. A camera inside a polling booth doesn't just record a vote, it actually records the person voting. Who showed up, who did not, and according to them, if it falls in the wrong hands, that footage could be used to identify them, pressure them, or even target them. They also called the video footage as an internal tool for them, something they used to run the polling smoothly. They never believed that this footage would hold a legal record in the first place. Now here's what the transparency groups are now arguing in reverse at the Supreme Court. The footage is the one thing that proves what actually happened in that room. And they've got a case to point at. Chandigarh Mayor Election 2024. CCTV caught an officer tampering with ballots. Watch this. The Supreme Court watched this video and overturned the original result. If that tape had already been wiped, no one would have ever known. Rule 93 is in front of the Supreme Court too. So the one record that could prove an election was clean or not now comes with a 45-day window. Remember when we talked about how the umpire gets picked? Now let's see what happens to him after the match. When the Chief Election Commissioner steps down, whether it is after completing a 6-year term or upon turning 65, what could he do next? Where does he go? Surprisingly, there's nothing in the law preventing him or her from accepting a government position or even entering politics immediately after leaving office. To understand why that matters, let's go back to the India-New Zealand final. Let's say the umpire has just overseen a tightly contested match between the two teams. It was filled with close calls on both sides. And the moment the last ball is bowled, one of the team walks up and offers him a job. Maybe a coaching position, maybe a selector's role, or even a seat on the board. Immediately after you notice that had happened, you might start replaying those close calls and wondering whether they were made purely based on the rules or could have been influenced by what the umpire hoped would happen after the match, which is to get a job offer in return. There lies the entire problem. Take MS Gill, Chief Election Commissioner from 1996 to 2001. He ran the entire country's elections. Then, 3 years after stepping down, he joins Congress. And he gets elected to the Rajya Sabha on their ticket, not once but twice. And this doesn't stop here. In 2008, the Congress government makes him a union minister. Now, they knew this was a problem. Back in 1990, a committee on electoral reforms, the Goswami Committee, looked exactly at this. And the government even drafted a bill, a constitutional amendment to address this. A retired election commissioner would be barred from another government job, ministry, and even a governorship. So, what happened to that bill? Nothing. It was quietly withdrawn in 1994. The government said it would bring a bigger, better reform bill instead. That bill never came. Now, let me be fair. Not every commissioner cashes in. Plenty of them just simply retire and you never even hear about them. And a job afterward simply doesn't prove any wrongdoing. And notice who my example even is. Congress. This was never about one party. It's about a design that lets anyone do it, whoever happens to be in power. Let's now look at how the biggest democracies on earth compare to India. The federal election body of the United States runs on 6 commissioners, and by law, no more than 3 can come from one party. You would need 4 votes to do anything at all, meaning neither side can move alone. It was built that way on purpose. Brazil went further. Their election authority literally is a court, run by sitting judges. Mexico makes its election councillors clear a 2/3 supermajority in parliament, so no single party can dominate. South Africa puts a panel led by the Chief Justice in charge of the shortlist, then hands it to the parliament to approve. Canada's chief election officer is appointed by an all-party vote in the House of Commons and answers to parliament directly. Do you see the pattern here? Across nearly every major democracy, there's a firewall system. Some countries require a supermajority, others rely on judges or hold an all-party vote. Whatever the mechanism, the purpose is the same, which is to prevent the government in power from quietly appointing its own empire. But in India today, a 3-person panel exists where the government holds 2 seats. That's where we are standing alongside everyone we like to compare ourselves to. Let's finally put these 4 facts side by side. The government that holds the deciding vote on who runs our elections, the footage with a 45-day shelf life that could check the legitimacy of the elections, and when a commissioner's term ends, there's nothing stopping a government or a political job from waiting on the other side. And finally, India's approach to choosing the empire compared to the other largest democracies in the world. I've laid out the facts as they are. What they mean and what conclusions you draw from them is for you to decide. My job ends here. Yours begins now. Thank you so much for staying till the end. Every video you watch pushes us to make the next one possible. We put a lot of time into finding the facts and telling you these stories honestly. If you found this video valuable and you took something away from it, subscribing to our channel is the best way to show your support. Thank you and see you on the next one.